Welcome to the Profitable NDIS Provider Podcast, where we're joined by your hosts, Tania Gomez and Paul Bryan. In each episode, we'll be sharing valuable insights and tips to help you turn your NDIS business into a profitable venture. So whether you're just starting out or looking to take your business to the next level, you've come to the right place. Let's stop surviving and start thriving.
G'day everybody, and welcome to our February update of the Profitable NDIS Provider Podcast. I am Paul, and I am joined by amazing co-host Tania Gomez. Thanks for joining me, Tania.
Yeah, it's great to be here. This is a new episode that we're doing today. So for this year, we decided that we'll do an update on the last Friday of every month of what's happening out there in the sector, what's new, what do we want to share with you as a bit of a news update and a bit of a sharing about all the things that we have going on. And it'll just be Paul and I, and we thought that we'd start with February now that the craziness of the silly season is over. And so that means we'll be releasing 3 episodes a month instead of 2. So it'll be every second Tuesday and then the last Friday of the month. To begin with, Paul, do you want to start with telling us, I guess, what's new in your world for February? What are some wins or something that happened in February that you want to share?
Yeah, well, February was great. I mean, obviously, after Christmas and all that sort of stuff, nobody really sort of does anything until Australia Day. So February is when it all sort of starts to happen. You get all the emails about the stuff that's going on. We ran our February intensive, which was absolutely amazing. We had, for Profitable Provider, our guys in the room at the Rendezvous in Scarborough, and we went through this fantastic process of developing innovation and collaboration inside of your business. We also streamed that around Australia to everybody else who's in the program who doesn't live locally in Perth. And it was a brilliant time to get people together, mastermind some creative solutions for stuff that's happening in the industry. That's a win for me, but I've got an amazing win for a client if you'll let me run through that quickly.
Yeah, absolutely.
I had a client who has been doing all the night shifts for months in her business, in her SIL business, struggling with staff and processes and trying to get her head around it, and just did it because it was all too hard. And in February, she moved back in home, essentially. She sent me a photo of all the things she was bringing back from her home, from the SIL home, because she was basically moving back in home. And it was brilliant to see someone who had been struggling with a particular area of their business for so long. They'd been putting so much of their own personal energy into it, but hadn't actually solved it. And so she moved back in home. She had the right team in the right place with the right setup and provisions for her to be able to go back into business owner mode and develop a business rather than just working in it all the time. So it was beautiful to get that photo of all this stuff going in the back of her car so she can go home again.
Wow. Yeah, that's great. Big achievements for you in February.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun. What is going on, Tania? Because I'm seeing a lot of stuff on your socials. You've got a lot of stuff going on, so I'm assuming there's some wins in there. Tell me what's been happening.
Yeah, look, I'm really excited for 2025. There's so many exciting things coming up. But yeah, in February, as you said, we're just getting back into the swing of it. So we're now running 13 events a month for our Provider Collective, which is our free events each month that we call masterclasses that share some information and knowledge and bring providers together. In February specifically, we had a few new locations come on. So we had the Sunshine Coast, hosted by Vanessa Norman, kick off for the first time. We've had Mount Druitt kick off for the first time, hosted by Benyoni from Able Minds. And we had the Bankstown one run by TLC kick off, and also Mount Gravatt kick off for the first time. So that's really exciting and really nice. I got to present in February at our Erina event. at our Bankstown event and at our Balmain event. So I got to talk 3 times and catch up with 3 wonderful groups. And I must say that talking in front of people is like my favorite thing, to be in front of a group full of people and to help them and to see their knowledge transfer, and just to hang out with so many cool people is just, the best part of what I do. So yeah, it was a really big win for me.
That's really cool.
Next, I wanted to share some challenges, and I guess this is the question where in the future, as our regulations change, will be a bit of a snapshot we can share with people. But this month, I also ran a session for providers to run through the consultation papers, and to have a look at what the changes are around mandatory registration for SIL and support coordination. It was a bit of a sad and depressing session because there's a lot of angst out there from SIL and support coordinators about mandatory registration. But I guess I just wanted to share some really highlight tips, or not tips, but facts, I guess, about what we know right now in February about this transition. And I don't know if this is commonly known. I think everyone out there is still feeling like there's not a lot of information and their sky is falling like henny penny. But we do know some things. We know that nothing's changing until at least July this year. We know that SIL providers and support coordinators will have to be registered. The consultation paper wasn't asking if they should or should not be registered. It was asking them basically, is 3 months to do an application and 12 months to go through audit long enough to transition you? So we know pretty clearly that, I'm not going to promise or guarantee because the government's unpredictable, but my crystal ball tells me that from July, we'll have 3 months to do an application and 12 months to go through the audit process. So that is, some kind of news that we can kind of work towards. And there was some other interesting things in there as well around things like unannounced visits for SIL houses. It looks like that will come in. We don't know when, but that's been talked about a lot. And in February, we also had the tender come out for support coordinators, which is a 12-month pilot around how should we cost support coordinators. And I know when that came out, Paul, you and I text back and forwards about, what does this mean? And I guess I'm interested in chatting through or your thoughts on what it means. I know I have some opinions. But yeah, what do you think about one, the changes for registration, and I guess also this support coordination tender that's come out?
Look, I think that mandatory registration was always on the cards for the government. And you could see that in some of the things that they've been doing for a while. And having a step process is probably a really good idea. It's a good opportunity for providers to take a look at it, because at the end of the day, the government's going to want to have as much control as possible. They're going to want to save money, and they're going to make certain things happen. So on that side of things, learn how to play the game and play it your way rather than just trying to play a different game, because that's always just going to be so much harder. When it comes to the idea of, the unannounced visits for SILs, look, at the end of the day, that really only lifts the standards of SILs. It really does. And if it's a concern to you, then it's a point of going, right, maybe I should make it so that if anybody drops in, it's always going to be ideal. And that's a really good place for people to be. Look, this tender around support coordinators there's a lot of info inside of it. It's obviously a pilot, as you said, for a period of time. This is how the government tests the waters to see what works, what doesn't work. They did a pilot a little while ago on, results-based support and payments and that sort of thing, which we're yet to see the results from on what that looks like. But when these things come out, it's a great opportunity for anybody to look at it and go, right, where does this arrow point? What does that look like? And what do we need to do as a community of businesses to go, right, will parts of this work? Is this an idea that I should be adapting into my business? What does this mean? And does it mean that I need to consider what diversification options I have, what other spaces I can operate in, because there is always a pivot. There is always a space to be able to operate a little bit differently. But the specifics of the support coordination trial, the tendering, will be really interesting to see how they make it work and what they do in that space.
Yeah. I kind of read that I feel like the writing is on the wall for small support coordinators. I feel that was a sign. It was an invite only tender targeted at a few small providers. It had lots of eligibility criteria that most people couldn't meet. Do you feel, is it just me? Am I a conspiracy theorist? Or do you feel like support coordination is going to be going to the big guys and small guys need to be looking at other options?
I think that they should be considering what their options are, 100%. But to be honest, that's a business principle in general. How do I ensure the longevity of my business, and how do I have these options available? At the end of the day, if it becomes this tendered thing where there are only a few people that actually run it, then we're going to be having a very different model. But how many people is that going to require? Does that mean that if you're an independent support coordinator now, that you contract to one of these larger businesses, or is it that you'd have to work for them, or is it that the work will be farmed out through subtenders? There's lots of unknowns in all this sort of space. I would want to be following that information very closely if I was a support coordinator, understanding the ins and outs of it. What are they looking for? If we go down the rabbit hole and peer into the crystal ball, we know that, again, the government will always want to have more control. They've done the spaghetti test. They've seen what's stuck on the wall, and now they're going to start leaning into the things that they think they work. They're going to trial some other things. So it'll be very interesting to see over the next little while. If I was a very small or independent support coordinator, I would really want to be having a look at what are the options that I've got ahead of me. Do we combine and find other support coordinators and create a larger business? What does this look like?
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly what I've been saying. As far as, can you become a cooperative? Can you work like the IGA, the Independent Grocers of Australia? Can you merge together and still look after your own clients, but share the costs of audit and compliance and systems? Yeah. That seems to me to be a really simple way of doing it. But of course, you've got people's egos, people's money, people's trust. So you'd need to have some really clear guidelines and rules around what that looks like and be clear around that. But I feel like that's a really good solution if we can get there.
Look, people could be creative with these solutions, but as you said, egos will have to be left at the door for it to work.
Yeah. In the RTO space, I have a friend in the RTO space, and it's really tough in international education right now because they've put caps on numbers. So if you used to be able to take 100 students, you can now take 20. And so what a lot of the RTOs have done, a friend of mine has facilitated that they centralize a lot of their costs to reduce them. So instead of each of you paying for a marketing manager, there's one marketing manager across six colleges. Instead of having 6 campuses, they're all coming in and taking a room each inside one campus, and still having their own branding and their own business and their own bank accounts, but sharing some of those costs. Yeah. And I feel like that's something that providers, specifically support coordinators, need to look at.
That sounds a lot like collaboration, Tania.
It's partnership. It goes beyond collaboration. It's actually partnership. It's actually, working together for the same goal. But you need to be careful of the legal things, and there's a lot of risk, obviously, involved in letting somebody else in. And I feel like sometimes NDIS land is really still worried about protecting my patch and not letting people in. And, you actually do this better than anyone, Paul. You let everybody in and do lots of things with lots of people, and you're so supportive of even your competitors, where I feel like NDIS land still isn't quite there. And I feel like I'm collaborative and I invite lots of people. But, sometimes if there's a direct competitor, I still get a little bit uncomfortable because I feel like my way of doing things is the right way. And if they're not doing it my way, then maybe they're not doing it the right way. So I get that it's hard. But I think if we have a common goal and a common mission and the guidelines are really clear, then you can still find a solution there.
Look, it really does come down to, is there a unified pathway that we're all on? Is there is there an overlap in our plans of what we want to do, and then individuality also, right? And then if those sort of things all meet up, you can go, well, this might be a really good option for us to do something together. To the combined forces are stronger than the sum of the equal parts, right? And so being able to look at those options, is going to be a powerful tool for support coordinators over the next little while, with the changing landscape.
Yeah. Any other changes or challenges that you've seen in February that you wanted to chat about?
Oh, look, we've looked into things like payment locks for providers and all those sort of things coming up, but they really are sort of across the board, fairly continuous. The number one challenge, I think, for providers is making sure they're up to date with all the challenges, yeah. Right? All the things that are continuously going on, making sure that they're actually staying abreast of all the bits and pieces that are happening, leaning into what's relevant, using the tools available to them, and having those conversations. And that's why I think the Provider Collective, Tania, is such a powerful tool. And if you are anywhere near any of the 560 per month, no, I joke. How many is it per month you're doing?
Yeah, it's 13 February and March, but from April we have Adelaide coming on board. Yep. And from May we have Townsville and Cairns coming on board. And then we're trying to work out Perth.
Perth, yes. When's Perth happening?
We're trying to work out Perth. I'm trying to get there.
Yeah. So,
yeah, we're 13 at the moment, but 15 to 20 pretty soon.
Yeah. Being in a learning environment, being in an environment where people are collaborative with information is really key. And, I'll always say, having a coach or a mentor and in a group scenario has proved exceptionally powerful for a lot of the people we're working with, because it just keeps you on top of the things and keeps the information relevant, not siloed to just one, the information that you're getting in your inbox. You can have a much wider breadth of information as it's being shared.
Yeah. Okay, so next, a share for the month. Is there something that you want to share, Paul, whether it's personal or professional or a resource or something else you wanted to share with our audience?
Oh, look, I mean, I'll take this opportunity to say that there are so many events happening all over the place that it would be valuable for anybody to jump into, especially as I mentioned, the Provider Collective, for getting into those sort of areas. But there are, this is me being probably too collaborative at some point because we're a podcast, but there are lots of fantastic podcasts around that touch on different things inside the industry. So like looking into what is relevant to where you're at and having those, the ability to be able to get a breadth of information, but always come back and listen here because that's really, really important that you do that.
Yeah. What about your summit, Paul? Tell us about your summit that's coming up.
Okay. You dragged it out of me. Look, we are putting together, this is our third summit, fourth if you include the localized ones we did in 23. We have got 5 days on the Gold Coast, which should be, key enough for you to want to book in and come along. But the massive benefit of what we're doing at the summit is really hands-on practical work on your business where you're actually separated a bit from the day-to-day. And what I found out was if you take someone out of their office, out of the regularity of their business, they will do exponentially more work in a shorter amount of time, and you'll have so much more output for it. It's a force multiplier for your business. So you are very practical and hands-on in these sessions, not to mention the people that are coming and speaking. I mean, there's a couple of really good people that are coming. For instance, the amazing Tania Gomez is going to be one of our key speakers, and really diving into what she's seen. And Tania, you speak to so many providers, and you're dealing with compliance at multiple different levels. So having someone like you speak into someone's business, I think, is a powerful thing on its own.
Yeah, well, you don't just have me talking about quality this time. I saw the topics you've given me and I was like, oh, this is a little bit outside my usual, Paul. I'm talking about making deals. I'm talking about scaling, and then on quality as well. So you're pushing me a little bit outside my usual.
Because these are things that I've seen you excel in and do really well in. And so you're not a one-trick pony, Tania. Come on. We've got the amazing Chris Lapa, who has been on our podcast before, diving into some real practicalities of being visible in the market and standing out and creating that holistic journey for your clients. We've got Charlene Woodbine, who's going to come in and make HR interesting, as much as most people want to bang their head against the wall when they think about HR processes. There's some things that you as a business owner need to be on top of. And then I've got two of my amazing clients who are going to be diving into some really key principles and how they've grown massively over the last couple of years by just applying really simple strategies. And then we're going to look at how to apply those strategies to your business as well. So it's going to be an amazing few days of learning, of practical hands-on work in the room. So you leave with stuff done. And also, dinners and having nice time, so you can actually have a bit of downtime while you're there as well. Have a bit of fun in a great location.
Yeah, I love that you're doing small dinners with the speakers so that we get a group we get to have dinner with. That's amazing. I really love that idea.
Yeah, I think it just allows everybody to actually connect on a better level than just having like a big restaurant full of everybody and everyone sort of sits in their own little groups and that sort of thing. So it's really about building a real network and collaborative idea there.
Sometimes after I do filming, if I do a whole filming day and invite lots of people, I often invite those people out for dinner afterwards as a thank you for their time. And those dinners are some of my favorite moments, getting a whole bunch of people who might not have met before that are great people, and enough that I want to interview them and spend time with them, introducing them to each other. It is like a mastermind. Like, it's not that you have to have a topic. It's just those conversations at that level just add so much value.
Yeah, I think you in those sort of scenarios where it's not in a room, in a classroom, in a networking meeting, but you're actually out and you've decompressed a bit, and maybe there's a glass of wine involved, a nice meal, and you're sitting around an area, you have different levels of conversation, right? Yes. It becomes less superfluous, becomes less business, and becomes more, actual, hey, what's actually going on with you? What is things like? Tell me more about what you do, and it really does let a lot of barriers down, and that's where I've seen so much growth happen for myself, just being in those sort of situations.
Yeah, and we all as humans just want to connect to other humans, and it really makes that possible, which adds the heart into it all, and NDIS providers are just so heart-centered that having that moment of connecting with other people is really important.
Yeah, 100%.
So something I wanted to share this month was that I've fallen in love with a new author, and I do this every now and again, and I fall in love with their work and I read everything that they've done, and I become evangelist for a little while. So I did this with Scaling Up. I did it with Profit First, and there's still books that I absolutely love and adore. And I found a new author who I now love and adore. And it is an Australian author who lives in the UK called Daniel Priestley. and he runs a company called Dent, which is from a quote from Zuckerberg about go in and make a dent in the world. And I've heard about this company. They've sent me free books in the past, and I never paid attention. I'm really sad that I didn't now. But I listened to a Diary of a CEO podcast, which is my favorite podcast. And there was an episode from him, and it was 2.5 hours, and I've listened to it about 10 times. And then I went and downloaded his first book called Key Person of Influence, and I've listened to that now about 3 times. And then I downloaded all of his books, and I listened to all of his books. And I love all of them, and I feel like everyone needs to listen to all of them. Key Person of Influence is his number 1 book and what he's most famous for. But and then he's got a book about different areas. So he's got a book called 24 Assets, which I really love, which is about all the business assets you need to take your business from mediocre to amazing. And we're not just talking social media assets. We're talking about financial assets. We're talking about all types of assets in the business. And it really he talks in a very simple, easy to understand way. He's easy to relate to. And I love a quote from him, which is something like, I don't write about business, I run businesses and write about what works. And for me, it just hit on so many levels. And I think if you're at any stage in business, have a look at Key Person of Influence, and then either he's got one about marketing specifically. I can't remember the name of it though. And he's got one specifically, the 24 Assets one. And I just can't recommend them. So much so that when I listen to them, I text about 20 people the episode and was like, this is blowing my mind. You need to listen to it.
Yes, I know exactly when you listen to it. I have the text.
Yeah, right. I loved it. And there's not often that I get that excited. So I really think that everyone should check it out. I think it's really changed my perspective on so many things in business. So I wanted to share that. Hopefully, I've been thinking about releasing a book club or a book list of things people should listen to, because for me, books really change. And I listen to books. I don't read them. I do a lot of driving, and I have a 3-year-old who I have to lay with for hours every night. So I listen to books constantly because my brain won't sit still, and I can't sit there for 2 hours while she goes to sleep without listening to something. So I listen to a lot of books, and I re-listen to the same 10 or 15 books on repeat. And this is one of those that have made the library.
I have a really important question for you, Tania. What speed do you listen to? What's your preferred speed for listening to a book?
Do you want to guess?
I think you're a 2 times person.
I'm 1.5.
1.5? Okay, I wasn't sure. I thought you might be up there.
Unless it gets too funny. Unless the speed becomes like a chipmunk, then I can't do it. Otherwise, I would listen at 2 speed, but all the voice becomes distorted, and then it makes me laugh too much, and I can't pay attention to the content. But I'm someone who likes to write as well, so I'll listen to it. So I listen to books multiple times. I'll listen to it, and then I'll listen and write what they're saying, pause it, repeat it, write it down. So for me, that process of putting it on paper and highlighting it really helps. And sometimes if I love the book, I'll get the hard copy and highlight it while I'm listening to it, and write notes down the side. So my Scaling Up book, can't see it, it's usually on my desk, it's got highlights all over it and writing all over it, even though I listen to it predominantly.
That's fantastic.
The other thing to share is, let's now talk about things we're looking forward to in March. In March, I've got a really big March. I'm really excited. So March has, for me, I've got my International Women's Day events that are now all sold out. Which is co-hosted with One Community and sponsored by Kismet. And this was a dream that I had. I've for so long wanted to do an International Women's Day event, and to get the amount of speakers we have and the amount of tickets sold in beautiful venues, I'm really excited about.
Amazing.
I'm also having it's Tania Gomez Consulting's 2nd birthday.
Awesome.
Which is the 10th of March is our 2nd birthday. And that's also another important milestone. That 2 years means no non-compete. So that's really exciting in my world. And then at the end of March is my 40th birthday. So there's wins for my 2nd birthday for my business and my 40th birthday personally. And I've been so worried about turning 40 for so long. I think it's so old, and I'm so worried about it.
Oh, dear.
I know, but I've made peace with it and I'm just embracing it. So I'm actually going to take my family to Japan. We're going to be in Tokyo and we're going to go to Disneyland on my birthday with my family and my good friend and her family. It's her daughter's birthday and her husband's birthday the same day as me. So we're all going to Disneyland for our birthday. Cool. And that's been about 5 years in the making. And so I'm just super excited for March. Can't wait for all of those exciting things to happen and a whole lot of new things I can share with you past the 10th of March on what TGC will look like.
Yeah, so good. I'm excited for it. Also, I won't take too much offense that 40 years old, considering I've done 40 several times over now. So
my husband turns 50 this year, he's not at all excited about turning 50. So I get it.
That's all right. Brilliant. I'm excited for March for you because there is so much happening, and congratulations on 2 years. That is really brilliant. And I remember you were in Perth when you launched, and it was really cool that you took off. And you talked about dent earlier. The dent that you made in the industry in that last 2 years has been absolutely phenomenal. So well done. That's brilliant.
And also this episode that we're filming now is our 60th episode.
This is our 60th.
60th episode. I don't think I ever thought we'd get to 60. So I think, celebrating our 60th episode is also something pretty awesome. And I got an email. I don't think I shared it with you, but I got an email a little while ago that we have hit 100,000 downloads.
100,000 downloads. That's a beautiful milestone. I love it.
So there you go. We're winning in life all round. I can't believe that anyone would want to listen to us 60 times.
We've been yammering on for 60 episodes and everyone is still listening, and this is beautiful.
What about you, Paul? What are you looking forward to in March?
I've got a really quiet March, comparatively. Look, we had our intensive, which was absolutely brilliant, and we've got a new cohort of profitable providers starting now. We've got a few guys that are jumping in from all over Australia. And so we've got a really cool process we take them through to get them up to date with what we do. And so I love every time we do that process, because we usually just solve some massive problems, and it's a massive dopamine hit for me seeing people have light bulbs literally flash over their heads going, oh, this is what we do and this is how it works. So I love that whole thing. On a personal note, my son, after 2 attempts, has made one of the most difficult to get into Wobble teams in WA. We're not sure what Wobble is. Wobble is West Australian Basketball League. The under-16s is like the most competitive group of them. And so, to be honest, now my Wednesdays and Sundays are completely spoken for the next 2 terms. But it's one of those things that, being his basketball coach for quite a while now as well, it's been amazing to see him go into that. And I'm excited because I just love basketball. So I'll be at all the games watching all that sort of stuff as well.
That's amazing. Yes, my kids are basketball obsessed as well. Actually, in February, talking about February, we had RWE tour Sydney and I think other places. I don't think they came to Perth. Do you know who RWE is? No?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Cam, but I took my sons to this park takeover in the middle of Western Sydney. It took us 2 hours to get there. And there was about 500 teenage boys watching this basketball game, and it was absolute chaos. My son sat on the line. They said everyone at the front to sit on the line. So he sat on the line with like 20 people deep behind him, and he's 10. At 11, and he was right under the hoop, and he had 3 of the players fall on him, and he got so injured I had to carry him to the car. It was chaos, but yes, it was very exciting for them to see.
I bet he loved it though.
He loved it, and like the one that fell on him is the big deal one. Cam something, I should know it, but I don't. Cam Wilder, I think, is his name, and K Showtime is the other one. And he was like, if that was at the league, I would have got, like, if that was LeBron, I would have got a jersey. That was all that he could say. So basketball is awesome. I enjoy watching the boys play basketball. It's one of the sports I can watch. Some of the others not so much. Cricket just takes too long.
Yes. Not a cricket fan.
Cool. Well, Gone a little bit longer than I thought we'd go today, but it's been awesome to talk about a February update and to chat a little bit more. And yeah, I look forward to everyone jumping on with us on Tuesday fortnight for our next episode.
Awesome. Thanks so much for joining us, guys. And thanks for the 100,000 downloads. That's absolutely amazing.
Awesome. You can share this and like it and share it with your friend and subscribe. All of those things really help us.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, everybody. See you later.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Profitable NDIS Provider Podcast with Tania Gomez and Paul Bryan. We hope you found today's episode informative and valuable. If you enjoyed the show, please don't forget to subscribe, leave us a rating, and share it with others who could benefit from our insights. Until next time, keep thriving.